What's good? This is Marcus the Fingers, and this is an iPad video. I haven't done an iPad video in a long time, and I'm going to talk about all the apps I currently have on my iPad because as of today, the Logic Pro for iPad will be launching this week at the time that I'm recording this video. So I'm going to show you some apps that you might be able to use in Logic. I'm just going to go through. I have my apps categorized here on my iPad, and we're going to just go through. There's a lot of apps to get through. This might be a long video, but I haven't done an iPad video in so long. So here we go. We're going to start with EQs and filters. We have Pro Q3, which is from FabFilter. So for those who don't know, there are some app makers, app developers who create apps both for iOS and for desktop. FabFilter is one of them. So that's an EQ there. I have the 6144 EQ here from DDMF. I also have one of their other EQs. Let me get back to my category here. I have their directional EQ. I have Go-To EQ, which I believe is from Clevgrand. They also make desktop apps there. So I have the Go-To EQ. For this one, you do have to use it within an app like Logic Pro. So once you see that, you'll see that there. I can't open up all of them. I have the SF1. I have the Tone Boosters, Equalizer. There's Bleas or Bleas filter. I always mess that up. There's Filter Step. There's also a Tone Boosters Dual VCF, another Bleas. This is Motion EQ. That expired. So I do some testing for some apps too. So you might see some things that you shouldn't be seeing here. Flux Mini, there's actually a Flux Mini 2. I'm going to show you the second one, which is basically like an EQ filter thing, and they have a bunch of presets built in that you can choose between. And I can't go through all these apps, but just if you see something that you might like, the UI or something, look up the app on YouTube on another video here to see someone that has covered that app. Gary's just texted me, not personally, but you know. So let me go back to EQs. I have Filtertron, which looks like a one knob thing. This is a Moog Music Moog thing. Actually, it's not one knob, it's multiple knobs. Okay. A lot of these, again, you have to use within an app to get the effects, but there's something there. So that's more EQs and filters. I'm going to go to my compressors and limiters. I have Pro L2 from FabFilter. I have Bleas, again expired, Bleas compressor, Magic Death Eye, DDMF stuff, New York compressor. This looks great. I like the UI here. Let me get back out of there. I have No Limits. I have Compressor from Clevgrand, I believe. Yep, that's right. So I have a lot of compressors here. Multiband compression from 4 Pockets, Perforator, Involver, Transient. Those two are from Fred Anton Corvest or FAC. Some great plugins. He makes some great, incredible plugins. Then I have Tone Boosters Barricade, Rough Rider from Audio Damage. Another great plugin. I believe this one is free, but don't quote me on that. I haven't used some of these in a while. I do use some of them on the desktop. So Audio Damage, you can get some of their stuff on the desktop. Then we have Woot. So if you're familiar with OTT on the desktop, you can also have this version of it on iPad, which is the called WOOTT. It's a dynamic hype enhancer. And then we have Slap. Again, I don't think I really use Slap. Maze Rider. I don't know what this is. I don't remember using this. Some of these apps I've had for years, and so apologies to the developers. I'm like, I don't know. Then we have, let me stop that. Can I stop that? Red Rock Sound has a great, looks like a possibly SSL emulation here. Compressor. Then I have Espresso from Clevgrand, Roast Beef from Calum Audio, who also made some of the other plugins I showed. This is mostly great for drums and bass and 808s. I use it for. Then Knock. Hopefully I can show this one. Sorry if it's not out yet. Decap. Shout out to Decap. He's bringing his desktop stuff over to iPad, so there's Knock there. This is great also on drums, but also bass 808s. So that is my compressors, limiters, and some gates. Then I have a bunch of reverbs here. So I have Bleas Reverb, the Tone Boosters Reverb, Altezza. This is great for if you want sort of like a Eventide-like reverb on the iPad. You have the Altezza. That one's expired. I have a lot of betas, like I said. Clever, Rat Shack Reverb. I think this one is free, if I remember correctly. And this might be a Bucket Brigade reverb. I don't remember. Audio Damage there. Adverb, Reverb Effects from 4 Pockets there. So you see that UI there. I'm not going to open all of them. RF1, Envelope from DDMF, EOS2, Shimmer Effects. So Shimmer and Altezza are sort of similar. We have Visual Reverb, Velvet Machine, Audio Kit Verb, Magic Dice, which I believe is also free. And what's great about this is you just hit the dice and it'll choose some random settings. So, and this is also on the desktop from Baby Audio. So a lot of stuff happening. I'm not even halfway through the apps yet. Let's go to Chorus, Flangers, and Phasers. Chorus there from FAC. I have Phase 3. I have SWEP. I have Squatro Mod. I do have some Eventide stuff. They also make some great plugins for the desktop. Micro Pitch, Rotary, and Undulator here. I also have Phaser, Bleas Phaser, Magic Switch, which is also Baby Audio there. If that opens up, you can also get that on the desktop. So again, these are AUV3 apps too, for the most part, that you can use in your DAW, such as Logic Pro, GarageBand, Beatmaker, Cubasis, things like that. And if I'm going really fast, please go back, rewind. If you see some plugins, you want to get some demos of it, there's a bunch of YouTube videos on a lot of these apps. We have Squash It for distortion amp type things. This is another one from Clevgran. I have a lot of Clevgran stuff, as you can see. Uh-oh, I got my audio coming in. Let me close this out really quick. There we go. And then we have, where were we? Amp distortion. We have Stark. This is a great plugin for like guitars. If you want to like add some amps to your guitars and things, you do have to open this up in a DAW. That's also from Clevgran. Then we have Reamp, which is it was free, or they had a free version called Freeamp. I don't know if this is the same one. I'm getting my memory confused, but Clevgran, they have a lot of great models here. Again, guitar amp simulations and emulations. Is +3 from Audio Damage there. Then you have the Nembrini. They make a lot of great apps. Some of them are free also. This reminds me of SansAmp. If you're familiar with SansAmp, I used to use that way back in the day on Pro Tools. It reminds me of that sort of layout there. Let's go back to, I'm opening a bunch of plugins. I'm gonna have to close them all out. We were in Amp Distortion. And then finally I have GS Vintage. I don't even think I use that. And I was beta testing it, and now it's out. My beta test expired, so that's called Vintage Clean. Then we have delays and echoes. So I have panning delay, reverser delay, dub station, RP1, bleas delay, stereo lag. I believe stereo lag is free. So if you need a free delay, definitely check that one out. You might not see it here. I might have to open it up in you got to open it up in a app such as GarageBand, Cubasis, Audio Bus, or AUM, and Logic as of this week, right? K7D, Delirium. This is fun for having multiple delays that can feed into each other. Again, you have to use that in an app, so you're not going to see some of these plugins. Cosmonaut, I remember using this a lot when I first got it. Also, another fun delay that I was using, especially some of the presets. You get a preset, then you can dial in multi-tap delays, multiple delays that feed each other. You have like a Haas processor built in. So I'm actually, with the release of Logic, it's actually making me more excited to go back into iPad production. So I stepped away from it because I was making a lot of orchestral stuff on desktop, doing trailers and things like that. Then we have FS Refractor. We have Modly. I believe it's also Clevgran. I use that a lot. Again, definitely go find that in some other videos. Discord 4 and then Ultra Tap from Eventide. We're going to keep going. Vocal synths, vocal effects and synth. Harmony 8, Dervoco, Juicy from Clevgran. Great. I don't know if it'll play. Hopefully you can hear that. I won't play all of that, but some great vocal sounds there from Juicy or Jussie. I think it's Juicy. I like saying Juicy. Pause. Voice synth, Sopranotron, Vocal Solus, Veloco, Audio Tune. This is not auto tune, but it can help you tune your vocals within the iPad. Then Pipa, which I believe, or Pipa, which is also Clevgran. And you have some presets there. You can dial in different things. Again, I can't go too much into it, but that is the vocal stuff. Then we have Multiband and FX. These are really great, really powerful plugins. Effectrix, which I also think is also on the desktop from Sugar Bytes. Effectrix, you can feed this feed your drums into it. It might not open up again because, oh, there it is. You can feed your drums into it, synths, things like that, and have all kinds of effects. I actually have some user presets that I imported in there and created, and you can just have these effects align with the grid in your DAW. We have Koala effects, which is taken from the Koala app, and they separate their effects out of the app. So you have all these effects that you can use as AUV3. It's also on the iPhone, so it might look backwards right now, but you have cutter, crush, pitch, comb, all these different effects that you can add as layers to your project in your DAW. And again, they need to start adding Logic Pro to their list of DAWs there. Then we have audio effects here. I've used this, don't allow. I used to use this a lot. Also, again, in multiband, you have different channels here, and you have different presets here where you can have different effects layered on top of each other. We have Bandit from FAC. We have Tornado from Sugar Bytes. I also use this a lot, where you can have different types of effects layered on top of each other. Here, you have all these different layers, and yeah, it gets insane and it gets fun. iFX racks from Gospel Musicians, where you can have different effects loaded up into different racks there. Then we can go to Tone Booster Enhancer, Pitch Shift Effects, Looperator, Spin, Jack Speed 3, EG Classic, Multiband. I believe that one's expired. I was testing that also, so sorry. I didn't get that one to purchase. RE1. Then we have DAW cassette. I believe this was free at one time, also from Clevgran, so it gives you that sort of tape. We are now into the tape and vinyl effects. Fly Tape. Shout out to the guys at MSX Audio and MSX2 Sound Design for these great plugins. Also, you can see this looks like a great tape. This has a great half speed effect and a great like slow down effect that you can use by hitting the stop button while you're playing a track, and you can automate that stuff in your DAW. Again, watch some other videos where you can see how these things work within a DAW. We have LP, which is grand like vinyl type effect there. Then we also have TB Real Bus from Tone Boosters. We have Low Fly Dirt. Again, this should be used in a DAW, so I won't open that up right now. We have Tape Cassette 2 from Caleb Audio, another tape emulation type thing where you have all these different settings here. I'm going really fast also, so be sure to rewind and replay. Tape Pro, I actually don't have that one. I was beta testing it. We have slow-mo effects. I have Bleed Slow-mo. A lot of these can help you do the tape stop effect where you can hit stop and you can automate that in your DAW. We have Fly Volume 2 from MSX Audio also. So if you remember, I had Fly Tape. I probably need to delete Fly Tape and just stick with Volume 2. And then we have Gauss, or Gauss, I think it's Gauss, Field Looper, some great effects built in there. Again, I'm flying through this. I'm just showing you what will open up as a standalone app, but you should be using these in an AUV3 in your DAW. Okay. Granular Bitcrushers. This is a list of Bitcrusher type effects, and there are a lot more. Some of the ones I'm showing you, there's probably 2 or 3 others for each one. So you have Quanta, Tardigrade Spacecraft Degrader, RX950, Jax Decimator, Bitmaestro, FRMS, and then 2 Bleast ones, I think Saturator and what is that one? Granulizer. So those expired for me. But again, some great apps here that you can use for bit crushing and granulization. I have a bunch of synths. If you can see 4 pages of synths, I'm not going to go into all of them, but I will say Pure Synth and MK Sensation from Gospel Musicians is great. Synthmaster 2, Model 15 and Model D from Moog. Arturia iSim Synth 1, which I believe is free, but there's a new one out now. Apparillo from Sugar Bytes, Factory from Sugar Bytes, Sunriser, Cauldron, Primer. You see all the plugins here. iMonopoly, TerraSynth, Syntronic, Poison 202. I use that for a long time. There's a bass in there that I really love that I was using for literally like a year. Synthmaster, I think the Synthmaster Player, Digital D1, which I believe was also free. Volt, Mitosynth FM Player 2, Animu, Casper, Wavestorm, Poseidon, Magellan, Microterra, Continua, Unique Synthmaster 1, Synthscaper, Seaboard 5D, Digitalism, Spectrum, Synthsphere, String, Mellow Sound, Steelotron, Noise, Blease, what is that? That's expired, whatever it was. Talu, No LX, Bayer Vag or Vogue, Magellan 2, Shockwave, Red Trike, World Synth, Animoog, Hillman, String Ensemble, Lagrange, Buttersynth, Blease, looks like Jordan Rudes, Blease, Monolith, Octane, King of FM, Saga. So a lot of these again, beta testing and things like that. So hopefully they are out and you can get them now. For the organs, Juke Stork Mini, that's a gospel, that's like a chapel organ. You have Galileo 2, iOptagon, and Hammond. The Hammond one is probably my favorite. It is my favorite Hammond organ emulation. It's in collaboration with IK Multimedia, and I am now a Hammond artist. As of a few days ago, I'm the new Hammond artist. So I don't have to say this, but it is my favorite Hammond organ, and it was created in collaboration with Hammond. Playing some random chords there. So yeah, you have a bunch of presets here. You can connect your MIDI keyboard up to things. You have some different cabs and the different Hammond emulation things. So shout out to IK Multimedia and Hammond for creating that. Yeah, so we're going to go on to Orchestral. So I created a whole nother video years ago about my favorite orchestral libraries on iPad. These were included for the most part. I don't know if Decent Sampler was out when I did that video. I will do a new video, but iSymphonic is great. It is a little expensive. It is a lot expensive because you buy the plugin, but then you can also buy add-ons to get the sounds that you want. So if you want those high quality strings and things, you might be paying another $30, $40 for different packages. And you can do that within the iSymphonic app here. Let's see what sounds. I don't know if I have all these sounds. As you can see, it says not installed. So if I wanted like the strings and trumpet, I would have to go into the store here, and then you can see the prices of the ones that are installed and not installed. So let's say I don't have the boats or Boato sound effects, that's $12. So it starts to add up, and you got to make sure you also have the space on your iPad for those plugins. But iSymphonic is great. It does need a little bit of tweaking if you want to put some sound effects on there. Heavy Brass from Crude Bright. I think iSymphonic's from Crude Bright also. Similar, as you can see, similar plugin. This is the brass sounds. And again, you can buy additional packages for different sounds and things like that. Also from Crude Bright. I might be wrong there, but these strings are great. For those Oriental string sounds, I have a lot of these here, and there's a way. I have a video. I gotta repost it, but I have a video out where you can connect your iPad up to Logic Pro on the desktop, so you can use your iPad sounds in Logic Pro. But yeah, some great sounds here for sort of Oriental strings. Jubal Flute, great flute sound. I believe it's also, I want to say it's Embertone, but I believe it's also on the desktop. Just a great flute sound. And then we have decent sampler, like a Contact, like pared down, but it's like Contact, like the new age Contact, where you can import any decent sampler libraries that you find on the desktop, especially on pianobook.co.uk, where you can find hundreds or thousands of free decent sampler sounds, and you can import them here on your iPad, and you can use them in your iPad plugins. You can also buy them within the store here. As you can see, Venus Theory has a couple there. There's some Jamie Liddell has some stuff there. So there's a lot of stuff you can buy in there, but you can also import your desktop decent sampler sounds into here to use that here. So that is Orchestral. But next to Orchestral, I have more Orchestral because I have a whole folder dedicated to audio modeling. I have a whole nother video on audio modeling SWAM. These are probably one of the most highest quality modeled orchestral instruments. They're not based on samples. They are modeled, but they are only solo instruments, so they're not ensembles. So you can get violins, you can get cello, you can get trumpet, you can get flugelhorn, tenor. There's a lot more that I don't have. I just got sort of the basics of the suite here. That's a whole nother video that I have, but definitely check out Audio Modeling SWAM. They are also available on the desktop. Then we have electric piano or pads. So I have Tynes here, Ravenscroft 275, which is one of my favorite pianos on the iPad. Cage piano, which is basically like a John Cage, or like a prepared piano. Pianoscaper and Moodscaper are great for creating like pads and moods. Same with pads there. Retro piano is great for layering pads with piano. Then we have Neo Soul Keys, which is an electric piano. Housemarque 1, it's probably my favorite. Shout out to Henny the business and the whole team that created Housemarque 1 at Morehouse College. That is probably my favorite iPad electric piano. And then Peer Piano 1 there. So those are my pianos. Then we have guitars and basses. I have iFretless guitar. I have Guitarscaper. I have Bassalicious 2. I used to have a favorite bass in there called Ba Bass from Gospel Musicians. There's iFretless bass. There's Nor. There's Cyclop, which is more like synth bass. There's Bass 808. I have this because the Bass 808 is insane. I've created a bunch of presets for Bass 808 here from the AudioKit app. Definitely check that out when it's available. I think they put it in the vault every once in a while. Then we have Roxin. Then we have Agonizer. There's so many bass plugins here. I can't even get to all of them. All right, so let's talk about the drums, percussions, and bells. We have Slammer from Clevgran, Boysta and Ting also from Clevgran, and Skaka from Clevgran. This is a great like egg shaker. They also make desktop stuff, so it's really great to use those plugins on the desktop for those sounds. You have 909 drums from AudioKit. I might or might not have some presets in there. You have Axon 2 drum kit, drum computer. You have Mersane and Kronecker from, I believe it's called Ice Gear. And they make some really great bell sounds there. The drums and percussions and bells. Then we have master channel strips. So Mixbox, I'm going to do a whole nother review of this on another platform that I'm part of from a whole nother community called Mixing Night with Ken Lewis. Check that out. I'm going to talk about Mixbox. I actually won this copy of Mixbox on the iPad about 2 years ago from a contest hosted by iPad Beatmaking. So shout out to iPad Beatmaking. I won this in a contest, but you can also get it. Actually, my voice is coming through here. But on the desktop. There's a free version, and then you can purchase add-ons to get more sound and more channel strips and things like that. So there's a lot built in. You have EQs, you have your amps, channel strip, delay, distortion, dynamics, filter, modulation, reverb, saturation, and you can build a whole channel strip. Then you also have a bunch of presets. Let me go here. I can load in a bunch of presets here from bass, bus processing. There's some of our favorite developers in there that have created channel strips in there. So let's say if I wanted to do like a whole vocal preset, I can go to 80s rap verse and it'll load up that whole channel there. So there you go. Yeah, you get up to 8 channels there, 8 racks. Let me close that because my computer's going to blow up. My iPad's going to blow up. Let me close some of these apps. I've been going through a lot actually. There probably is a way to close all these. You can see I've been going through. It's been a great review so far. This is your commercial break. Be sure to go to defingers.com. Defingers.com. Check out some services I have. Hop on a consult call, you want to hop on a chat with me, go to defingers.com and we can chat about sync licensing, music business, iPad production, music production, trailer music, whatever you want to talk about. Defingers.com/services. I also do trailerization, so if you have a song you want to make trailerized or make it great for sync licensing and cinema and things like that, hit me up and we can talk about that. So let's keep going. We're going to go to master channel strips. So we have Mixbox, I already talked about, Grand Finale, which is great for mastering your tracks, Final Touch, which is one of the first plugins I had for mastering. We have Audio Master, we have MS Processor, Maxima, another FAC one, Bark Filter. There's something in here. I gotta remember the preset that I just helps to triple band. That's the one. Let me take this out. Triple band preset. Let me turn that off. It's great for enhancing your sound. So I use that a lot for mastering on the iPad, especially when I first got it. Go to that plugin called Audio Bark Filter and use that triple band preset. We have Lux, we have TV Morphit, we have Channel Strip, MB Compressor, and Beef. I believe Beef is updated to roast beef, which I showed earlier. So yeah, Then we just get into sharing and editing. So these are sharing your sounds, editing. Bruise Free is a noise reducer, so you can have your noise reduction. You can have like a noise profile that you can take. I believe that's also from Clevgran. You have Easy Audio Cut for audio editing. You have Audio Share for sharing, Audio Copy for sharing, Audio Bus for sharing. Muse is for distribution, so it's sort of like DistroKid, TuneCore. I personally use Hard Drive Distribution. They don't have an app, but I use Hard Drive for distribution. You have Lexus, which is another audio editor. Audio Stretch, which is great for stretching your audio or pitching that. So I was using that when I played in church, and they wanted to play a song, but they wanted to lower the song another key. I would like find the song, bring it into Audio Stretch, and then pitch it down so that I can learn it and practice it. Then we have Vocal Extractor. There are some plugins on iOS that you can use to extract the vocals from a song, so I use that a lot when I'm doing that on iOS. Mostly I use it on the desktop. I use Isotope RX3, but there's a bunch of plugins. There's a bunch of AI stuff now that helps you to remove vocals or to remove the music and keep the vocals. Then I have loops and generators. So Fortimento, Stravinsky, Riffer, Soundbow, Gestument Pro, Patatap, October, Ephemeral, Splice. That's actually for getting like samples and things. Then we have Looper. We have Chompler, which is probably my favorite one here in this group from MSX Audio, where you can actually load up. You can purchase sample packs, and you can load up samples, and you can chop them up right here, all within the app. And you can also use this within apps like Logic Pro, GarageBand, Beatmaker 3, things like that. So that is the Loopers. Shout out to Chompler and MSX Audio. That's going to be dope in Logic Pro. Then we have Beatly Pro. That's for getting generating MIDI, and then you can bring the MIDI into your DAW. Of all these, I probably don't use these a lot because I'm usually just creating my stuff, but there's a lot of options there. Then I just have some utilities. Audio Layer is great for trying to create your own custom sounds and things in the iPad. Then we have Tube AU. That's great for getting YouTube videos, the audio from videos from YouTube into your iPad. One Control is great for having DAW control, like a controller for your DAW. There are scripts for like Logic and things like that. The Logic Remote, of course, I use that a lot because I use Logic. So that's for using your iPad or your iPhone as a Logic Remote for Logic Pro on the desktop. There might be some translation there when Logic with Logic on the iPad. Then we have Form Key, we have Transcribe, Stella, Beat Time, Quick, TB Spectrogram. So again, some more things there for utilities, MIDI, things like that. Then I have some stereo width plugins, so stereo widening, Haze 2. I use that. I actually use this on 808s a lot. But you can widen the width of your stereo field with all these virtual. You have stereo width. I believe this one is free. Again, you have to use that in a DAW. We have simple stereo here. That was really weird. I'm going to leave that in the video too. Then we have Pan Station, Pana, Blease Motion EQ, or is it just Motion? It might just be Motion. Motion effects. So yeah, so you have a lot of stereo width options there. Then last but not least, as far as the folders I have, DAW. So these are the DAWs. Again, once I get Logic Pro, that will be added here. There are so many that are not included here. And actually of the ones here, I mostly use Beatmaker 3, which is actually at the bottom here. I have it on my deck down here. So Beatmaker 3. I'll go back to the folder in a little bit. Beatmaker 3 I use the most. It's great for sampling. I'll just go to Test Me. I have drum things loaded up. I have channel strips and things. I have templates and presets that I use in Beatmaker 3. I have videos on Beatmaker 3. I'm going to upload, I might just put the videos I have from Beatmaker 3 and create a course and stay tuned for that because I have them all over YouTube, but I might just curate them. Then I also use Cubasis 3, which is the iPad pared down version of Cubase from Steinberg. And I use that a lot for doing like linear projects. I use that a lot for my project. I have one called Forgive Me for My Synths, where I create synth projects, and basically it's a great way. I'm just going to say new project here. Great way to just have all these sounds and things. It comes with some great sounds, and then again you can load up your AU sounds, some of which I just shown in this video. So I won't go through that here. There's a lot of great trainings and tutorials on Cubasis 3. You can check out Mobile Music Pro, another great tutorial site. Then I have some Ampify apps. So I have, I believe this is Groovebox, where we can use like Drumbox. We can have some ambient sounds, some digital sounds, some analog, and you can build out different loops and things within Groovebox itself. We also have Blocks Wave, which is great. I've used this to create cues. So you can bring in your samples here. You can load up samples that are already preset. You can purchase samples, and you can just load them up into these different pads. You can have different sort of you can basically create a song with these different loops and things. You can have up to 6 like versions of it, and you can also export it and you can mix it in another DAW. But I've created full songs and cues in Blocks Wave. I haven't done it in a while, but you can also load up your samples. If I go to browser here, you can load up your custom samples here, and as you can tell, I loaded up some cardiac loops way back in the day, some cardiac sounds there. You can bring in your own sample import. So this is where having a lot of space on your iPad really comes into handy, especially with Logic Pro, because I don't know as of yet how much space it's going to take up, but it's good to have just more space. And then we have Novation. So this is great also. Launchpad, if you're familiar with Launchpad, the touch controller, and then on the desktop and things like that, very similar layout where you can have different sounds loaded up to different Launchpads. You can purchase things, then you can mix and match things there. I've created cues with Launchpads also, and also sent those out for placement. So you have so many options there, and I believe that's it. What it is, I think I did Block Wave. And then we're going to go to the DAW's recording again. Cubasis, which I showed you earlier, that's Cubasis 1. I probably need to delete it. I just use Cubasis 3 now. Or I think this might be Cubasis 2 right here. Then AUM, I actually use that for a lot of live stuff. When I used to play in church, I would create my different channel strips in AUM. I would have different presets. I don't even know if they saved because it's been so long since I've used it. Let's see if I go to Files and I go to Sessions. Brian Lee was an artist I work with. Let's just go to keys. So this would load up. So all the stuff I would bring in, I have a Yamaha MIDI controller. I have a whole nother video about that. A MIDI to Bluetooth controller, basically adapter that I can plug into any keyboard, MIDI keyboard, and I can just set it up with my iPad. And what I would do is I can go to any piano or any keyboard in the world that has MIDI out, plug in my Yamaha Bluetooth MIDI controller, and I can link it up to the iPad, and I can go through and mix these sounds and match these sounds. And that's what I would do when I was playing live. I would go in and I would adjust these sounds. Let's say I wanted one that wanted, some flute sounds layered with strings, layered with keys and electric piano and piano. And then I can mute as needed, or I can solo as needed and adjust them live and on the fly. So that was great with this AUM. You can also create cues and mix things and things like that on there. So that's great to have. Let's go back. Again, this is not supposed to be, this video is already long enough. We have Mic Swap Pro, Beathawk. There's some really great orchestral sounds in there. In my orchestral video, I believe I share a lot of orchestral sounds that are in there. These, again, this is you purchase the app, but then you can have a bunch of in-app purchases. So if we go to the Beathawk app and we go to the browser, again, these are things that I have in my library. You can buy more in the store. There are some that you can buy all these kits. You have organs, you have hip hop kits, you have drum designer, drum machines, you have some orchestras, orchestral sounds, some musical toys, some mallets, some really great high quality sounds also. And then you have them by category. So bossa nova, bossa Brazil, Baroque, Balkans, Asia, ambient, Africa. Some great sounds in there from Beathawk. Then we have Mic Swap Pro. That's great for trying to record into your iPad and then swapping it out with a different mic. We have Aria Pro, which is very similar to Pro Tools on the desktop. This was an expensive app. I don't even know if it still works here. I tested it out. It didn't really work for my workflow, but it could work for you. It is basically like Pro Tools on your iPad, and you can have different workflows. You can bring in sounds and mix them and match them and things like that. I don't know if you can do MIDI recording in there. I don't remember, but I did do some mixing in there. You have GarageBand. Again, Logic Pro's coming. So this week, sample take from IK Multimedia. You have Prime. This is great. I was using this live for bringing in loops. I forgot my login information, but you can bring in loops, have your loops laid out, and you can play it almost like similar to Ableton, where you can have your loops play at certain key points. You can trigger loops to play at the next downbeat or whatever. iMachine 2. I was using this for forever, a couple of years ago, or maybe I think it came out maybe 10 years ago. Just creating beats. This is from the machine makers from Native Instruments. And you could have some of their expansions there. And I created a bunch of, let's see, if I go to open, I have a lot more on the iPhone. This is on the iPhone too, but I created a couple here on the iPad. Haven't used it in years, obviously, but I should go back and listen to some of those. Then we have SampleBot. This was featured Jimmy Fallon show. But basically you can go in and we'll say, leave it for now. You can go in, you can bring in your own samples, and you can just do sample chopping and playing. So it's really a fun, colorful way for sampling. Groovemaker, this was probably one of the first iPad music apps that I might have had. They had a whole series of these from was it IK Multimedia? So they used to have a bunch of apps for music creation. I don't even know if it works anymore. Auditor, I believe that's more of editing, so I might have to bring that into editing. Then we have Koala. I showed Koala Effects earlier. This is the full-fledged app where you can actually bring in the samples, you can chop them up, and then you can use those effects that I showed from Koala Effects built in. Really great for doing that old sort of SB12 sampling. Then we have Zen Beats. I never really use Zen Beats, but I believe Brandon Rico, check out his channel where he talks about rolling Zen Beats. And I think he has a lot of tutorials on how you use that for your workflow. Again, I don't really use it much and haven't used it much these days. And it might have just crashed. There's some in-app purchases. A really great deal, $5, for the next 8 hours or 8 days. So yeah, you can check out the whole Unlock version 3 for $5. It's actually not a bad price. I don't know if that's monthly or just a one-time fee. So definitely check out when you're purchasing stuff. Check out to make sure when you're buying stuff on iOS, if it's a one-time fee or if it's a monthly subscription or annual subscription. You want to be on the lookout for that. Unlock the desktop, where you can clearly see. Sometimes you don't know if it's a subscription or just a thing. But Zen Beats, I've seen some great things. The DAW looks kind of cool, very similar to Cubasis. It looks like there. And I think if you're a music creator, since you are a music creator, if you sort of can learn one, you can learn them all. Everything has a learning curve, but you can learn them all. And then what else we have? We have Pulse, which I believe was a metronome thing that I was using. I used this a lot in church when I needed the beat, and I just needed the beat in my ear or needed to send the beat to like the drummer. MIDI wrist, I don't know if that ever really took off. That was basically where you can use your Apple Watch to have MIDI controls and MIDI CC controls. Then Hey Metronome, I believe a free metronome there. TW Recorder, this is great for translating files. So let's say you have an AIF file that you need to convert to MP3 or WAV. I use TW Recorder for converting files. You see some of the stuff there. In fact, the stuff you see right here, it's going to be released on an album. You can see the date I did that, but the trailer album that I have coming out called Upon the Throne, I think when you see this video, it'll be out this week. So shout out to Amadea Music Productions for the opportunity to work on this trailer album. So I was doing some of the conversion probably on the go using the iPad here. So you can convert files. You have to have a purchase. I believe it's like $5 to purchase the full version where you can convert those files. It's also available on the desktop. Probably the best and easiest conversion from audio files that I found. And then Let's Unmix. This is similar to the one I showed, Vocal Extractor, before, where you can go in, you can import your files, and you can take out the vocals, the drums, the bass, and others. I don't remember how much this is. I believe it was a cost associated. I don't think it's free, but basically sort of like RX, which I use on desktops. You can take out the vocals, take out the music. I've done that occasionally when I wanted to do some remixes and take the music out and keep the vocals. So there's that. Is that everything? Numa Player is great. I just got to categorize it. I think it has a bunch of sounds in there for free, maybe, or maybe you can purchase them. I haven't really used it yet. But there's some great sounds, piano, strings, keys, things. I haven't tested it out yet, but I want to say it was free or really cheap, so I got that. Analog, I was testing that. I don't have it anymore. Jam with Jordan, I was testing that. I don't have that anymore. Phosphat, I believe this is a transient designer. I was testing it, and I still have it, but I don't think, I haven't used it much. Again, I haven't used the iPad in general much over the last 2 years, but this is from Clevgran, so I'm just a huge fan of some of these brands. Clevgran, MSX Audio, Audio Kit. If I won't go to the next page because I don't know what I'm like beta testing, so I do have another page of stuff, but I don't want to show something that I'm not supposed to show. I might have already showed some things I'm not supposed to show, but this is just to show you, and I shared in another video, I actually went live on Instagram, where I shared, like, if you're going to learn about producing on the iPad, you want to learn from people who have been producing on iOS for a while, not from someone who only has been producing on the desktop, and now they're going to try the iPad for the first time because Logic's coming to iPad. You want to learn from the people such as Henny the Business, Jacob Hack, Nutrix the Sound Guy, Brandon Rico, Mobile Music Pro, iPad beat making. There's so many videos out there and tutorials from these guys. You want to learn from them because they've been doing this. There's already dozens of videos, hundreds of hours of footage showing you how you can produce using these apps on the iPad. So you want to learn from the people who have been producing on the iPad at least for a year, but longer, 3 to 5 years, if not longer, and not from someone who's been producing on the desktop who is new to the iPad because Logic's Pro is coming to the iPad. You want someone who's already integrated in the iPad space. They know the difference between IAA and AUV3. If you don't know that, then if they don't know that, then don't learn from them about how to produce an iPad. The different ecosystems, how to get things from Files app or from, Audio Copy, or using, Dropbox or Google Drive and importing them into different DAWs. I believe it will be similar workflows with Logic Pro. So, and I've seen some things with Logic Pro. It will be out this week. If I get this video out today, Logic Pro is supposed to be out tomorrow on the iPad. So thank you for watching this. This is a long video, but I wanted to get these insights out as far as there is an ecosystem that has been in play for iOS for over a decade of audio production. It's only getting better. Again, the last couple of years have been a little bit slow, but I think with the resurgence of sort of the interest in iPad music production because of Logic Pro coming to the iPad, I think we're going to see a lot more development on some of these apps that maybe haven't been updated in years. Beatmaker 3 is still great, but it's been forever since it's been updated, but it's still great. So that's actually a testament to how great some of these apps are. Some of them can last 5 or 6 years without an update and still be really, really great for music production. So Cubasis 3 is awesome. I got to dive back in there. And again, with Logic Pro coming, what I intend to use it for is really mostly for mixing, bringing my sessions from Logic on the desktop, mostly bringing audio because I am using third-party plugins like Spitfire Audio and things like that. Aria. I'm going to do a whole nother thing on the plugins I use, especially the drum plugins. But like Damage 2, that stuff is not coming to the iPad, at least not day one. The contact stuff or the third-party plugins. So what I'm going to do is bounce them to audio on Logic and then bring them over to the iPad for mixing and see how I can compare my mixes. I would like to bring Ozone over to iPad, but like I said, I have my master things here, so I get to dive in and see how these will work on my cinematic and trailer stuff. So especially Bark Filter, Mixbox I have there, Grand Finale, Final Touch, and I can do my mastering on the iPad. So I'm going to be testing that out. But just wanted to show you guys that the ecosystem is there. It's been in play for years, literally for almost a decade, if not longer, with some of these plugins, and these developers have been developing stuff. And now there is support from official support from Apple with Logic coming over. So exciting times. I do plan on diving in, at least on the month trial, to see if Logic will work for me on the iPad. So we'll see. I'm using the 2018 iPad Pro, so I don't have the updated, latest and greatest M1, M2, M3, whatever version is out iPad. This is 2018. I believe it's still compatible with Logic, so that could hinder it. But because of Logic coming to iPad, I am considering getting a new one at some point, probably this year, next year, I don't know when. I'm in no rush to get a new iPad, but if it works on this with Logic Pro, I gotta check out my space. I might have to get rid of some of these apps that I showed you to free up some space, but stay tuned. All right, I'm just rambling. Thank you for watching this video. I'm gonna pull some content together of videos that I've posted of me producing beats on the iPad over the last few years, try to formalize it into a formal course for you all so you can see the workflow that you can have with creating in Beatmaker 3, Cubasis, and things like that. So stay tuned, be safe, and be well, everyone. All right, peace.